What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Dr. Vincent Esposito, and today we are going to be making a vegan pulled pork recipe. Now, normally you would do this with something like jackfruit because it comes apart and has that feel. Personally, I don't love jackfruit, so we're gonna use some mushrooms, some beans, make an awesome barbecue sauce from scratch. We're gonna use oranges as our sweetener, as you'll see. And that's how we're gonna go into it. But before we get to that, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Coming out with videos every week, everything nutrition, health, wellness, longevity, plant-based recipes. And today I think is gonna be a really good one. We're gonna make that, that barbecue sauce with that kind of faux pulled pork. We're gonna make a coleslaw and we're gonna put it on a bun, and I am very excited. So let's get right into it.
Okay, so let's get started. So now we have an entire head of garlic and we're gonna mince it as best we can here. Now, I like a lot of garlic in my cooking, if you haven't noticed already, so I tend to use a lot of it. You can get away with less cloves, but garlic is so healthy. There's a ton of health benefits. It's much more worth it to use it as much as possible. We're also gonna go in with a whole red onion. So we're gonna get rid of that outer layer, and then we are going to start chopping our onion. Now you can get away with other onions if you want. You can use shallots, that's fine too. But we're gonna cut this into half moons because I think it'll go better with the texture of our pulled pork. So now we're gonna make our barbecue sauce first. So instead of using other sweeteners, we're gonna go in with oranges. So you notice I have 3 oranges here in the beginning. After I go through this first step, I realized it's not as sweet as I wanted. So I did get 4 oranges for just that reason as I kind of test everything out. We're also going to go in with the juice of 1 lime. We're going to go in with about a tablespoon or so of Dijon mustard. Now, if I had to pick one mustard, I use Dijon all the time. A couple tablespoons of tomato paste. Now, again, a lot of barbecue sauces usually have ketchup. We're obviously not using that, so tomato paste kind of fills that role. About a tablespoon or 2 of tamari. And we're gonna give that a whisk. So a very simple sauce, you'll see. Now, like I said before, we're also gonna hit it with a little bit of garlic powder. And there we go, there's the orange that I forgot. Now, when I use citrus, I roll out your citrus before you use it. So before you cut it, you're gonna roll it with your hand. If you're gonna try to juice it, it allows for the most juice to be released. So now we're gonna make our slaw that goes along with this. So we're gonna cut up a green cabbage. You can use any cabbage you want, and we're gonna add it to our bowl. Now this is gonna be a very simple slaw for the side, and to it, we're gonna chop up some carrots to kind of add some texture and some color. I personally love raw carrots, and considering we're making more of kind of like a savory type dressing, this will add a little bit of sweetness. So that was about 5 or 6 carrots. We're just gonna quickly chop up, throw in that bowl. And then we're gonna cut up some apple to put in there as well. Now, I love Granny Smith. That's my go-to apple, particularly for slaws because they add some of that tartness. They also hold up the best. They're a little bit firmer. They're a little bit sturdier. So I like using Granny Smith, and I obviously love the taste. Now, I'm gonna cut it into smaller strips. If you don't want to cut it this small, you can keep them bigger. But you know, if you have some knife skills, if you worked around with it, don't be afraid to show them off because it adds more variety to each bite. Now we're gonna make our dressing. Obviously, most coleslaw type things, you're gonna have some mayonnaise or other things. I don't particularly like mayonnaise, so we're gonna make a separate dressing with tahini being the base to get that creaminess that you're looking for. We're gonna add some lemon juice. We're gonna pick out some of those seeds that escaped my faux strainer, being my hands. We're gonna add a little bit of salt, and we're gonna add a little bit of water to thin it out. Now, you can add more water if you don't get it to the viscosity you want. You could also add more tahini if you want to make it thicker. But I got it to a nice consistency with about a couple tablespoons of water, and then we're gonna add that to our bowl. We're gonna give it a mix. And the reason we're doing our coleslaw first is because it'll marinate a little bit while everything cooks. So it gives it some time to kind of marinate and get more of that flavor into that coleslaw. Now we're gonna make an oil to bake our buns. So we're gonna add some olive oil with some paprika, some cumin, some fresh garlic, and a little bit of salt. We're gonna mix that and we're gonna paint each side of our bun so we add just more kind of flavor. Now to this, we're gonna throw that in the oven, as you see here, 325 degrees for 2 to 3 minutes. Now it's time to get our pulled pork ready to go. So I have oyster mushrooms. You can use different mushrooms if you want. I love, love, love the texture of oyster mushrooms. They are super meaty. I think they're the best ones if you are going to make like a vegan style pulled pork. Oyster mushrooms are the ones that I suggest the most. Now let's make it. So to our pan, we're gonna add some olive oil. We're gonna swish it around at about medium heat, and then we're gonna hit it with our aromatics. So that onion and garlic we chopped up before, that's going in, and we're gonna saute that down for 4 to 5 minutes or so. Get that onion translucent, stirring occasionally just to make sure that garlic doesn't burn. Now once that's done, we're gonna add our diced tomatoes. We're gonna add our beans. In this case, they're pinto beans and aduki beans. You could use different beans if you like. Those are just the ones I have. We're gonna add a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper just to add a little bit of flavor going on there. And give it a mix. Get them kind of mixed and even. And that's kind of where we start. Now, went in here with about half a cup or so of a dry red wine. I believe in this one I used a Cabernet. And again, wine in general, I mean, you'll see me use a lot in these videos, adds so much depth of flavor to whatever you're cooking. I'm a huge fan of cooking with a white wine, ideally or a wine in general, ideally an organic one if you could find it. Now, I went in with the mushrooms, and now it's time to add the rest of our sauce. So we're going to give it a mix. We're going to allow all those flavors to kind of meld together, and we're going to cook the sauce down until it thickens up a little bit. We're going to add a little salt because I thought it needed a little bit. We're going to add some paprika to give some of that smokiness, some of that barbecue, and we're going to add some cumin as well to kind of, again, get that smokiness, a little pepper to bring a little more heat. Feel free to use red pepper flakes if you want more heat. I tend to not make most of my food very spicy because someone I live with doesn't like it. So again, add heat kind of as you want. You'll notice after we add that paprika, you get more of that rich redness. That comes from the smoked paprika. You see, that's kind of the thickness we want of our sauce. So it's a little thickened. You can cook it down further if you want it really thick, but that's kind of where we're going to leave it today. So now we have our toasted bun, and now it's time to make our plate. So we're going to put some of that vegan pulled pork, and there's a lot of different flavors going on here. It came out fantastic, and play around with those ingredients. Again, I liked orange, I liked the sweetness. We add a little bit of our slaw, and guys, that's our vegan pulled pork with a side of coleslaw. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you give this recipe a shot, feel free to shout me out, hit me up in the comments. I'd love to hear how it came out. If you have any suggestions for further videos, I'd love to hear them. But until then, take care, and we'll see you next video.